Okay, I call to order this regular meeting of the Campbell City Council this Tuesday, March 4th, 2025. City Clerk, could we please have the roll?
Councilmember Hines.
Present.
Councilmember Scazola.
Here.
Vice Mayor Furtado.
Here.
Mayor Lopez.
Here. Thank you. For the Pledge of Allegiance, I will now invite Sofia Fojas of the Santa Clara County Office of Education to lead the Pledge of Allegiance in recognition of Youth Arts Month. So if you could please come up and lead us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much. So feel free to stay up there for a second. I'll come down in a second, but I'm going to go on to our first item, which is special presentations and proclamations. And for our first item, there's a recommended action that the City Council authorize the mayor to proclaim the month of March 2025 as Youth Arts Month in the City of Campbell. Youth Arts Month is an annual celebration supported by the Council for Art Education to emphasize the value of art education for all children and to encourage support of excellent school art programs. So I now invite Arts Coordinator Sofia Fojas to provide a few comments on Youth Arts Month.
Good evening, Mayor Lopez and members of Campbell City Council. Thank you for supporting arts education in our schools by presenting the Youth Arts Month proclamation tonight. I am Dr. Sofia Fojas, the Arts Coordinator of the Santa Clara County Office of Education. I lead Artspiration, SCCOE's arts initiative that began in 2007. In my role, I support districts implementing a comprehensive arts education, co-manage the Arts Ed Connect grant with SV Creates, and conduct the Young Artist Showcase, which houses the most extensive collection of youth arts of any county office in the state. Youth Art Month was started in 1961 by the National Art Education Association to recognize art as a critical part of a well-rounded child's education. Encouragement and commitment to the arts by students, community organizations, businesses, governmental agencies, and individuals were the goals of the initiative. Now in 2025, research shows us how participation in the arts develops a path to creative self-expression, instills a sense of belonging, prepares students to thrive in the 21st century workforce, and connects families and communities to rich cultural experiences. The positive effects of arts participation in schools are seen in increased attendance, higher academic achievement, greater confidence, and higher civic engagement. Participation in the arts is critical for the success of every child in our schools. So coming up on April 3rd is our third annual Viva Mariachi Showcase at the Mexican Heritage Plaza, a celebration of Mexican music and dance with special guest Mariachi Los Gavilanes from Monaco Middle School in Las Vegas. And on May 23rd, we celebrate arts with the theme, The Arts Builds Civic Engagement, for our Young Artist Showcase. We've held this celebration since 1997, and our collection numbers over 1,000 pieces. The deadline for submissions is April 1st. So now, on behalf of the Santa Clara County Office of Education, and as a child myself who learned the violin in the 4th grade music class, and then became a music teacher in the public schools, thank you for recognizing March as Youth Arts Month in Campbell.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Clerk, we don't need a action for this one, right? It says there's a recommended action. Okay, well, if not, I'll come down and present the proclamation and a certificate of appreciation for leading the pledge.
And I really want to emphasize the STEAM program.
Yes.
That is so, STEM is great, STEAM is even better. So, great.
Thank you.
Terrific.
Thank you.
And do you have anyone who wants to take a picture? It's okay if not.
Take a picture. Oh,
Sure.
thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Yes, the vice mayor would like to make a few comments.
I just wanted to congratulate you and thank you very much. I agree with my comments of my colleagues, how important arts are to students and to schools. And as you said, it brings out the best of, that students have and oftentimes helps them focus even better on their academic courses in addition to enhancing their art skills. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Councilman Scazola?
Yes, thank you. It is super important. Oftentimes people think of art as, just, oh, that's extra. That's like the sprinkles on top of the ice cream, but in reality, it's such a base for so many of I'd argue all of the great ideas that humanity's ever had is imagination. You imagine a new idea, new technology, whatever, but that goes hand in hand with the arts. You have to have that creativity before anything really moves in society, in my opinion. So I just wanted to say that, and thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, and I'd also just like to add how important the arts are, not just for children generally, but how much we value them in Campbell. We have many arts events throughout the year, and in my view, it's a big part of what makes our community special, that commitment to the arts that all our residents value. And as others have said, it's important to continue that for the next generation to imagine a better future. So thank you so much for your work and for being here tonight. With that, we'll move on to presentation by the Community Emergency Response Team. And this will be introduced by Police Captain White.
Honorable Mayor, council members, thank you. I'm here tonight with members from our Community Emergency Response Team to provide you with an update of what they provide to our community. I'll give you a little bit of background. The Community Emergency Response Team, or CERT concept, was first developed in 1985 by the City of Los Angeles Fire Department as a response to the growing need for civilian volunteers to assist first responders in local communities during catastrophic disasters. The initial success of the CERT program in Los Angeles prompted a broader expansion, and by the mid-90s, the Federal Emergency Management Agency adopted the concept, promoting it as a nationwide initiative under the Citizen Corps program. FEMA support allows the CERT concept to be implemented in communities across the United States, with local programs providing training in areas such as basic first aid, search and rescue, fire suppression, and incident management. With over 250 trained volunteers, Campbell CERT operates from 9 strategically located command posts throughout the community, ensuring that assistance is readily available wherever it's needed. The city does provide CERT with $10,000 of funding as part of our yearly fiscal budget, and that is managed through me as our emergency manager and the police department. So they're here to talk a little bit about what they do in the community. We're thankful for our partnership with CERT. They've helped in many other areas and continue to do so. Thank you.
Yeah, it couldn't be done without partnership. So we do have the slides. Fantastic. So what I'd like to do is go to the next slide. The key thing on that slide is 12 years, and I would ask Stephen Teeter, our original founder, to say if that's even an earlier date than 12. Okay. So that's what I want to do here is first introduce some of our key people. Then we're going to talk about the game plan and then what we can have you do for yourselves. So I'd like to start off with Stephen's wife, because it's the people behind the people out on the front line that allow us, myself with my wife, Ashley with her husband, to make this all happen. Please stand up.
You know this was gonna happen.
Yeah, you do.
And Stephen, please, as our original founder. None of this would happen without him. Following on to that, we have Mark Dunkel, stand, as our current president, who brings all kinds of skills, including well, let's see, if we can't communicate what we need or what's coming down the pike, we're in a deep bit of trouble. And that's one of the key things of many things that Mark has brought to our table. And to help him out.
Can you use it just to make sure we get a
Sure.
recording?
Sure, and then he's finally found someone to offload a lot of this to. Ash, who's standing with me here. Our program manager, trainer. She's like Mrs. Teeter, a woman of many talents. She is a fire person in Daly City. She runs a young women's fire academy. She's a wife. She's a mom. And we get to have her as our program manager, which you're going to hear from here in a minute. Myself, I've been in CERT with Stephen and everybody here. I've just stepped off the board. I've also been on the Academy board, which is the collaboration of all the nonprofits with Marcia Hovey, and you'll see some of her work in a bit. And I'm also the chair of the Veterans Commission, which I'm finding some younger bucks to step in and let me step back from that so I can focus on next steps for me in the emergency management world. We have some other members of our team here tonight just in support of us, and I really appreciate you taking your time to join us tonight. Thank you so much. So you're going to talk it off.
Yeah, sounds good. I muted it. just can't feedback.
One or the other,
No.
not both.
Can we go to the next one, please? Or is there a button up here I should press to just make it? Oh, you just, oh, thank you. All right, and you can go to the next. All right, so who joins CERT? Who can be a CERT? And CERT's Community Emergency Response Team, right? So in this picture, this is from our annual meeting that was end of January, beginning of February. It was just really recently. There's a lot of people there. We brought some people with us tonight, and we also have a bunch of people who are at the Campbell Community Center right now, which they generously donate one of their rooms to us for training first and third Tuesdays of the month. We started that initiative this year to get back to regular in-person training. So we have a bunch of people over there doing Stop the Bleed right now. And I'm very excited about that because it's great to keep on refreshing on the first aid, right? But so we have people in here who are retirees in this picture. We have people who are electrical engineers. We have people who are seniors, people who are new parents, people who are still commuting every day to like an hour away for their job and come back. And so the point of all these different, this beautiful like amalgamation of the people that do compose our program and who is saying obviously everybody is invited, right? The point of that is that sometimes we'll have an emergency in the middle of the night. Everyone's home, they're not on vacation. So we'll have maybe a whole bunch of people turn out for something like that. If there's a disaster instead in the middle of the afternoon, we know that we want to have some people who are still going to be local and not everyone who's going to be commuted out to their jobs, so that we still have people who can respond to the disaster here in Campbell. So that's our primary focus, is our neighbors in Campbell. So that's what we love about who can join CERT. It's everybody, and it's a very quick academy that you can go through that Santa Clara County Fire and a bunch of other places around our county run. So we're happy to have those partnerships. In our neighborhoods, as you said earlier, there are 9 independent command posts throughout. We have a bunch of neighborhoods that we just kind of made into groups just for purposes of getting, training together in smaller groups rather than the whole thing at the same time. So you can see if you fall into any neighborhood in Campbell, you've got a team that's around you somewhere in your neighborhood. And if you'd like to join them, some of them have a CERT sign in their yard. And some of them you learn by talking to your neighbors. So I encourage you to go out and talk to your neighbors, and whether you want to be in CERT or not, it's about making sure that you know who you're living with and help people get disaster prepared, including yourself. Now, what does CERT do for Campbell? Next, please. So we wrote up a strategic plan last year, and the mission of Campbell CERT is to bolster citywide disaster resilience by building teams of neighborhood volunteers, trained, organized, equipped, and responsive to major disasters. So that's what we're here to do. That's why we keep training. That's why we keep coming out and being in the public, shaking hands, being at the farmer's market. And so we look forward to meeting more of you as we continue on this year. And next.
So if you look at that map, we want to have you councilmen join into those neighborhoods that represent you because we've shifted from a general to now a council district style. So that's an opportunity for you, not a challenge. The next slide. So we've, yes. So we've got some examples of different people involved. This lower picture is Mike Groden, who's also our marketing person. He does that professionally. And he's created all kinds of materials, like you'll see later, this 26-step book that you can customize and download for free off of our website. To engage the younger people that are working and very busy, we've got a child ID kit that he's created. So there's a lot of different ways that people can get involved. We have, besides the Tuesday night trainings, we have each of those neighborhoods on a quarterly or sometimes monthly basis doing various practice exercises of how to set up a command post, et cetera. So we're always engaged because if you don't keep the muscle growing, it's going to die. So these next couple of slides we're going to go through pretty quickly. So how do you get stymied with, next slide, please. Being too busy, or the next slide, being overwhelmed. And the next slide, I've changed to issues to opportunity, where you can now, next slide, find people that have been in the past labeled as disabled that we call functional needs now, where a great course by the state CSTI team, the training team at the state level, through Vance Taylor, has created a great functional needs access program. As an example, we have people on our training team with Parkinson's delivering the Spanish program. We did the very first one here right at home church just a while back. We have another one of our trainers in a wheelchair. So those are just a couple of examples, as Ash pointed out, that anybody has a role in some way in being a part of the process. Next slide. So I just spoke to the Spanish cert being offered. We also have it available in Vietnamese and Chinese, and we're looking to bring Tagalog on and others that we can find people that'll teach it in. Next slide. We have 2 academies going on with San Jose is getting ready for their 3rd academy. Los Altos Hills also has a program, and we'll talk about that again a little later. And I want us to not forget the next slide, which who's already prepared because they're surviving, the unhoused. I separate unhoused from those that lost a job maybe during COVID, from those that are really the homeless, those that need probably some mental and emotional support. So there's ways that anyone and everyone needs to be considered and be a part of the overall community. I always talk about knowing your neighbor. You know your 5. Do you know those 2 neighbors beside you, behind you, across from you? I don't care if you're in an apartment building, a condo, or a separate house. Getting to know those 5 with, here we go, Chief Berg, needing more budget to expand the thinness of the team as we would have if we had fire sitting here. Because if you don't know those neighbors, having some of them, especially out in the residential areas, is going to be tough. So having some knowledge, some experience, some tools is really a way you can start in that first hour of a disaster, helping each other out. So there's various ways in which you can get involved. All of this is on our website in the top right-hand corner, campbellcert.org, campbellcert.org in the upper right-hand corner. So you can watch some videos. There's a QR code for that. I talked about Michael Groden's expansion of this one-pager broken out over periods of time into a book that allows you to customize your own food and supply ideas in a free download. And as Ashley spoke earlier, you can also take a class with, in your community, the only official in the county, not just Campbell, that I know of that's taken the CERT class is Liz Gibbons. So I'm gonna offer that challenge out opportunity for everyone. And I know that with everything you already have on your plates, that's gonna be tough, so we're gonna get to some alternatives for that. I'm also working with Dr. Robert Bravo as the superintendent of the Campbell High Schools to get the teens involved, along with his safety officer, Rick Hernandez. And then you can, as another option, next slide, you can host a class. So the next slide is what I'm interested in. And you can each have a copy of that, if you like. And what I would say is, and to the far table over there, I don't know if that's enough or not, we got plenty. So the idea of this page is our CADRE. What is that? It's the Collaborative Agencies Disaster Relief Effort. It's all the nonprofits, the NGOs, and non-government agencies that come together and support within the community beyond and separate from the official Office of Emergency Services, CERT programs. At the very bottom, we're going to get to the next page here in a minute. If you can flip. It references at the bottom of that is a reference to their website, cadresv.org, earthquake. And what that does is it gives you a reference to those people that don't have a good understanding or able to read or write English. So where does that apply? Most everyone at our generation and younger can do that pretty well. In my neighborhood, when I walk out my front door or side door, I've got 8 cultures within 5 doors of my house. 3 of those houses have grandparents that I know don't speak or read or write English, but their kids and grandkids can pull up some videos and oral presentation so they feel like they're included also. So it's another form of inclusion again. I spoke earlier about the teams, and so there's a couple of academies going on that we've already had in San Jose and Los Altos Hills. We've got another one coming up in San Jose. What that helps is the school person that does safety on an individual campus might be 1/10 of one person that could be the admin or assistant principal. And they get trained every year or so. So by having teens to fill in on campus, they have the better ear of what's going on with their peers than an adult being told what's going on. So they're a good information flow. And by having the knowledge, they also have some capacity to take and help the staff in an emergency.
I did want to say something about Teen Cert. It's a really exciting program. And the problem with Teen Cert is that once they graduate high school, a lot of them will leave the area to go to colleges or training programs. That's actually not really a problem though, because we think that it's incredible that our teens can learn all these incredible resources, like disaster preparedness tools, and go out and be that cool head in the room potentially when something's happening. And then they come back to our community maybe someday. So they won't be deployed or activated when they're teens, right? But as they get older, they've got that training in the background.
Well, and it also gives them yet another career opportunity. I had my CERT trailer built by our trade schools that Campbell High Schools are a part of. So I had one of my CERT mom's son in the metal shop. We got a trailer out of it. Well, they provide a number of other trade school opportunities, fire, police. I'm talking with some of the leadership out there to have a CERT program on their campus so that the next generation have another career possibility moving into this whole area that I think is really needed and very interesting. You want to speak to the website?
Oh yes, just remember, campbellcert.org is the website, and it takes you to other classes near me that I can take to prepare without having to go through a whole academy. That's valuable, right? Are there classes, where are the classes happening that are in academies? I'm curious about this, was it 23-hour, 32-hour academy? A lot of them are hybrid right now. So you do most of your days online, couple in person for skills, and then you have a graduation that's a skills day. So it's all tailored to really meet people where they are, right? And that's our goal as Campbell CERT as well.
Before Ash wraps this up with our Taste of Campbell, just leave that slide up for a moment. A couple of practical things. Your gas meter. You'll see a lot of these cheap tools that don't fit very well on the bracket of a gas meter. On my back porch, I have a real crescent wrench that'll fit anything. What you want to do now, tomorrow, is go test your gas. How do you do that? Just give it a slight tweak, and if it doesn't budge, it's stuck. And what do? You call PG&E now when they have time to adjust that nut.
I noticed that he said you just tweak it a little bit. You don't shut your gas off. Because if you do shut your gas off, you're going to call PG and they're going to turn it back on for you, okay? Unless you are certified in that. Okay.
Another thing is in a lot of the stores, I'll see these big backpacks. If you lift them up, they're heavy because the bottom half is water. So I'm supporting getting just a simple first aid kit that you buy, or as we just handed out, get some suggested start ideas and customize it to what your family needs are off of these 4 $20 lists that you can do at Dollar Tree. I talked about communication. We've got both ham and GMRS radios throughout our community, so we've got good communication. I talked about us going up to Paradise with 28 trucks and trailers. What happens after the disaster? Is it just the physical construction? No. It's the mental and emotional that goes on forever. So Nick Arnett, who's one of our instructors and a CAL FIRE chaplain and is a Tier 1 national responder deploying all over the country, has written 4 books on resilience, psychological first aid. And so you can find him on the web, Arnett, A-R-N-E-T-T, Nick. He lives down in Gilroy, is a great resource for us.
Maybe we can try to keep the presentation going, and
We're done.
you can feel free to give us additional resources that we can
We're done.
look up.
Awesome. Could you
So
go to the last?
Ashley's got one last thing to cover on the next slide. Appreciate your time.
And it's okay if it won't go over. I can just tell you, we have our big annual fundraiser coming up. It's called Taste of Campbell. We have a bunch of wineries coming to do samples. We have some breweries. We've got food. We've got a huge silent auction that opened on March 1st. And I'm getting pings on my phone right now because I'm being outbid. And it's letting me say, do you want to bid again? I'm like, yes. So it's a lot of fun, and it goes all back into our Campbell CERT. It helps us supplement the funding that we get very generously from the city with PD to keep on having our medical supplies updated. We just went through a whole revamp of our medical stuff, so it's all not expired. We teach CPR from the community. We love this stuff. So if you can come to our fundraiser, you can find it at lovecampbell.com. We've got stickers if you'd like. We'll leave them on the table. But lovecampbell.com, it gets you to a place where you can buy a ticket to attend, or you can just participate in the silent auction and not attend at all, or just take a look. So that was what we really wanted to make sure we share with you guys. We hope that we helped you get a better idea of what Campbell CERT is and does for you. And we are excited to hear from you. Any questions, any comments, please feel free to reach out. We're very happy to do that, campbellcert.org. All right, thank you.
Thank you so much. I want to give you a round of applause for all you do. Do you have any quick comments from council?
Yeah, I
members?
just
Yes,
wanted to make
Councilmember
a
Hines.
thank you. I attended the board, it was a board meeting, CERT
My
board
annual
meeting?
meeting.
The annual CERT board meeting, and it was very impressive, and just the community involvement that they had. Obviously, we have seen the Palisades environment, that the importance of having a CERT, and so just really excellent work and excellent organization. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, Vice Mayor.
I just also wanted to thank you very much for coming tonight and sort of telling us even more about the program that you've been working with and coordinating. I think it's a great program. You mentioned Marsha Hovey earlier, and I know she's been involved with Cadre for many years.
Yes.
She regularly attends the emergency
Yes.
operations area council meetings. And the work that she does with a number of volunteer organizations and those organizations are a tremendous asset to the county, simply because the government agencies have statutory responsibilities during an emergency. They just can't handle all of the kind of things that the Red Cross and other voluntary non-government organizations do. And then especially our own CERT-trained personnel. So California, as you know, has a very robust system, the Governor's Office of Emergency Services, the various regions that are involved, all in compliance with SIMS, the Standardized Emergency Management System that California developed, on which NIMS, the National Emergency Management Incident Management System, has been developed. So we have a great state and a lot of great volunteers. Our biggest problem right here in our city is especially earthquakes, which would be pretty universal around the entire city. So a lot of people will have to fend for themselves and depend upon their neighbors to help them in these times. So thank you very much.
Well, and our San Jose OEM director, Ray Riordan, was actually a part of creating the SIMS program. And with the CSTI courses, I've taken over like 25 of them because I want to get more involved and pick from that what fits into a particular need in a neighborhood or a community, et cetera. So really appreciate your words on that.
Thanks so much. And thank you for being here. Go ahead, Councilmember Scozola.
Yeah, I just want to say, as an Eagle Scout, I'm always of the be prepared
Great club,
mindset.
small.
So I really love you guys to death. Campbell Sims has a very great reputation, by the way. We have one of the best. And I was just going to mention real quick, nothing official yet, but last week I came from Cities Association executive meeting. And we are currently talking about, just talking at the moment, but perhaps having some kind of county-wide challenge amongst the different city councils. How many people can we get that are actual council members to sign up for CERT? So
Yes.
I
love it.
will pledge that within 1 year's time for me. I don't know about
I've been
others.
working
I
on
will-
Scozola for a while, I'll
Right, yeah,
say.
so
Who
I
knows?
will, I pledge that I will go through the academy within 1 year's time. So
Oh,
that's it.
mark it down.
Thanks so much. And I've appreciated being involved in the past, and I'll look forward to see if we can make it work. I also want to share, we have monthly meetings of the West Valley mayors and managers. And far and away, the top issue for most of our neighbors this year, unsurprisingly and sadly, is wildfire preparedness. And Los Gatos and Saratoga have very active CERT teams. And one of the ideas that was brought up was whether the CERT members, CERT groups in the different cities can collaborate for mutual aid in the event of a disaster. We may not be as directly impacted. And so I will leave that up to you. If it would be helpful for me to make connections with those other cities, let me
Yeah,
know.
we
But I know.
I sit on the CERT County Council and the Regional Council also.
Yeah.
So we already are talking about that. We have a countywide exercise practice coming up here
In May.
May 3rd. So
Great. I know it's top of mind for our neighbors, but thank you again so much for being here and for all you do in the community.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it. Thank you. And there are no communications and petitions today, which brings us to oral requests. Are there any members of the public that would like to speak on any item not on tonight's agenda? Not seeing any, we'll go to council announcement. Are you interested in historic preservation and looking to get involved in your Campbell community? Applications to serve on the Historic Preservation Board are being accepted now. Help advise the council on matters related to historic preservation, such as architectural history, planning, geography, archaeology, and much more. For more information, please visit our website at campbellca.gov/boards-commissions or contact the city clerk's office by emailing clerksoffice@campbellca.gov or by calling 408-866-2117. The Adult Center Case Manager connects seniors and their loved ones with resources for food, utility cost reduction, rental assistance, caregiving, and many other services. These appointments are available by phone or in person. Contact Pat Martinez at 408-871-5154 or by email at patricam@campbellca.gov. The Campbell Police Foundation is hosting a fundraising breakfast on Saturday, April 5th from 9 to 10:30 a.m. at the Home Church on Winchester Boulevard in Campbell. Tickets are $25 per person and can be purchased at campbellpolicefoundation.org. The Civic Improvement Commission has launched its youth photo contest, Capture Campbell. Capture Campbell encourages youth to capture what Campbell looks like through their eyes. This contest runs through April 30th. To find out more, please visit the city's website at campbellca.gov. The AARP Foundation is providing free income tax assistance through Friday, April 11th at the Campbell Community Center's Adult Center. This service is available for low to moderate income adults and families ages 18 and up. Please visit campbellca.gov for more information. And that brings us to our consent calendar, which is routine matters that will be considered under one motion. Are there any council members, staff, or members of the public that would like to pull an item from consent?
I'd like to pull item number 10.
Okay. So do I have a motion for items 3 through 9?
I'll propose the motion to approve items 3 through 9.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Can we get the roll, please?
Councilmember Hines,
Aye.
Councilmember Scazola,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Furtado,
Aye.
Mayor Lopez.
Aye. Thank you. That item passes. And that brings us to item number 10. Do we have, Vice Mayor, do you have a comment or
Yes.
question on this?
Thank you. I wanted to pull this just for a brief discussion. This is to to authorize and approve a funding amendment to allow us to do a comprehensive traffic study, which of course I do support. The question I have, however, is that the proposed timeline runs over several years. I mean, it's scheduled to start in March of this year, assuming we approve it, which I think we will tonight, since the bulk of the money is coming from a grant that we received. But it continues on and doesn't conclude until February 2028. It seems to me by that time, the report will be somewhat outdated because there'll be so many more buildings that we have and increased traffic loads and things like that. If we're successful in, continuing to build more housing within the city. So I'm just wondering if there's a way that we can shorten this overall process so that it doesn't last years from now until another council is convened.
Thank you. And I see Public Works Director Todd Purcell.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Thank you for the question. You are certainly correct that that is an elongated timeline. Our staff put together this timeline based on some advice from the USDOT, and the advice was to be extremely conservative in putting together the timeline such that we would not have to go back and make any adjustments, because the outlook on that was it's better to have a very conservative timeline that you meet, that you can exceed the expectations rather than be in the opposite position. So although it does show this out approximately 3 years, our goal will be to move as quickly as possible, as quickly as our resources will allow. As you can see, we will be preparing the initial request for proposals by April. So we're going to start the process as quickly as we can, and we will move from step to step as quickly as possible. I am very confident that they will, that the project will be finished well within that timeline. But that's the reason for showing the elongated timeline at this point.
Thank you. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Great. Thank you for the additional information. With that,
I propose the motion to accept item 10 on the agenda.
do you have a second? Second from the Vice Mayor. Can we have the roll, please?
Councilmember Hines,
Aye.
Councilmember Scazola,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Furtado,
Aye.
Mayor Lopez.
Aye. Thank you so much. That brings us to public hearings and introduction of ordinances. First is a public hearing to consider the request of Scott A. Momer Consulting to modify the operational characteristics of a hardware store located on 480 East Hamilton Avenue. This is the application and consideration is a major plan development permit modification. And before we do that, let me ask if council members have any disclosures they would like to make in relation to this item.
Just that I use Home Depot all the time, and I walked around it, pretty much all the way around it yesterday. So
Thank you. Okay. Community Development Director Rob Eastman.
Yes, good evening.
I'm here just to introduce our staff planner. He's new to the council. His name is Nishant. He's one of our contract planners that we'll be presenting tonight. After the staff report, both myself, Nishant, and senior planner Daniel Farmer. That, Nishant.
Okay, good evening, everyone. My name is Nishant Sioni. I'm the lead planner for this project. The project site is the Campbell Home Depot located at the intersection of East Hamilton Avenue and Salmar Avenue. The site is currently developed with the existing hardware store, garden center, parking lot, and an outdoor food cart use. We'll go over some background on the site and the project and then get into the proposal. The store was approved in 1991 with a planned development permit, and in the years since and recently, the city has received complaints from residents about nuisance impacts and also issued a code violation in 2022 related to those nuisance impacts and unpermitted outdoor storage. Neighbor concerns are described in the report, but to summarize, they're related to noise and activity along the western property line, unpermitted food and beverage sales, inaccessible sidewalks, trash buildup on the site, and related nuisance issues. In addition to correspondence with the neighbors, the city held a meeting in January of last year between the city, neighbors, and the applicant, where neighbors were able to further inform staff about these concerns. Code violation is specifically related to after-hours noise and unpermitted outdoor storage, including along the western property line, which is what this image is showing. This code violation is outstanding, and all existing and proposed outdoor storage is currently not allowed. So Home Depot has entered into a compliance agreement with the city that requires submittal of this application to modify their operations and address these violations. This is the overall site plan. I'll focus on specific areas to give you an idea of the existing conditions. Home Depot currently stores merchandise outdoors to allow the store to quickly restock during heavy sale periods. They are currently storing merchandise along the western property line in the blue on the image on the screen. This storage was part of the code violation and the basis for the neighbor complaints. Storage is unpermitted and will remain unpermitted. Storage along the western property line will not be allowed by approval of this project. Home Depot is also currently storing merchandise south of the garden center in the green. This is also not permitted, but will become permitted with approval. In addition to the existing storage south of the garden center, Home Depot is requesting new storage locations shown in red. These are at the south of the hardware store and south of the garden center next to the self-storage facility, as well as in the parking lot next to Salmar Avenue. This location in the parking lot will require additional screening from Salmar. This exhibit shows the proposed delivery truck access to the site. Trucks will be allowed to enter and exit the site from Salmar Avenue only and can only use the western side of the store for exiting the site. The western side cannot be used for accessing storage locations from the north. In addition to the applicant's proposal, staff is recommending conditions that will guide operations and minimize the nuisance impacts that neighbors have experienced. These are detailed in the report and ordinance, but to summarize, we will limit delivery vehicle access and loading locations, prohibit storage and delivery along the western property line, limit delivery, outdoor staff, and operational hours, require speed limits and idling restrictions to reduce noise, require installation of trash capture inserts and trash cans, and provide multiple city monitoring mechanisms. As mentioned, some of the concerns expressed by neighbors were about day laborers loitering on the site. Staff had originally proposed loitering-related conditions to the Planning Commission. Those have since been removed. In consultation with the city attorney, staff determined that policing loitering on private property would create issues for the city and challenges, so we have removed those conditions. Instead, to address nuisance impacts, we have included and further strengthened conditions limiting noise and prohibiting littering. Conditions also give the city multiple monitoring mechanisms to ensure compliance with conditions. The city will conduct weekly site inspections for 6 months to proactively monitor compliance with conditions. The applicant will need to come back to the Planning Commission in 6 months and 12 months, where the commission will review Home Depot's compliance with conditions and judge whether the permit needs to be modified in any way. And lastly, the community development director also has the discretion to modify hours of operation and initiate modification or revocation of the permit based on verified violations prior to those compliance hearings. Staff is recommending that the City Council introduce an ordinance approving a major plan development permit modification. And as a reminder, the ordinance to be introduced was included as a desk item for this project. Concludes my presentation. I can answer any questions.
Thank you. I'll go first to questions from the council. Do you have any questions? No. We will then open the public hearing, and I'll start by inviting the applicant or their representatives to speak. And you have 5 minutes for this portion.
My name is Cassandra Parmenter. I am the applicant. I am representing Home Depot. I work for Scott A. Momer Consulting. Gloria, who is the store manager, is also here today. We just wanted to say that we reviewed the conditions of approval. We've gone through everything. Nishant has been wonderful, and he has worked with us through this whole process. The store manager agrees with the conditions of approval as well as Home Depot corporate offices. And we are working on getting the store in compliance and following those conditions that have been listed on the press. And I can answer any questions if you have any.
Thank you so much. Go ahead, Councilmember Ryan.
Yeah, sorry, you said your firm very quickly. What was a little slower?
Sorry, Scott A. Momer Consulting.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? No? If not, we'll see if there's anyone from the public wishing to speak on this item. Thank you. Members of the public will have 2 minutes each to speak, and I'll start with the cards for those who are in person. If there are others who wish to speak, please feel free to fill out a speaker card and hand it to the city clerk. And after we do in person, we'll go to online. So I'll start with Philip Rollinson, and just so you have a bit of a heads up, then we'll go to Marianne Yoshikawa and then Scott Reese.
Hello, Council. My name is Phil Rawlinson. I live at 318 Harrison, so my garden backs onto Home Depot. I want to thank Nishant for doing this work. It has been sterling effort to try and bring order to what was chaos. The chaos was something that Home Depot, I think, took advantage of in order to continue to do certain things which are obviously not permitted, but are very difficult to find out how they were not permitted per se. The document's clear, and over the period since the Planning Commission has approved this, I've constantly emailed Cassandra and to Nishant pointing out where they're not in compliance with the new rules as they're coming into play. And in fairness, Home Depot have responded and addressed each of those things in turn. And it augurs well for the future if they will continue to comply. The cynicism that has existed, and my fellow neighbors will tell you time immemorial, is that Home Depot don't comply. They haven't done so in the past, and once this is all done, bad habits will ensue. What I suggested at planning was an aide memoir was done, because you look through a planning document and say, well, we're not really sure. And so I've got a one-pager of pictures, which I've shared with Nishant and which I've shared with Cassandra, which I'd like Home Depot to adopt and for the council to adopt, to be able to say, this is it in pictorial form, what you cannot do on the western side. So no one can come back later and say, well, we weren't really sure. We even had a little hiccup over the last few days where certain practices were being done. It was clear that it wasn't allowed. It was discussed at length at planning, and it wasn't allowed, and still it was done. This aide memoir is a way of saying, just look at the picture. You know you can't do that. I fear that there will be one thing that Home Depot will not be able to stop doing, and that is blocking the entrance to the west side where there is a yellow gate. It is a fire entrance and it shouldn't be done. It is also where they have historically had loading of trucks and the like. The likelihood is Home Depot are going to have to move their practice elsewhere, because if they continue to block that, they will continue to be not in compliance. Subject for a different day and the compliance side of things, but I think that's going to happen. I would like to talk about day laborers, just very, very simply.
I'm sorry, if you could wrap it up.
Sure. At the same planning meeting, Nishant's highlighted nothing can be done about day laborers. And it said they're loitering. Well, in actual fact, if they're trespassing, something can be done. I know a representative of the police forces here, and Home Depot needs to put efforts in place to say, these people are trespassing, we don't want them on our store, we've got no trespassing signs up, and please move them on. And that has not been done as yet. So it isn't a case that nothing can be done. They can,
Thank you for your comments. We'll go on to the
can
next.
Can I have this adopted into the record?
We'll take public comment and then we'll have the discussion from council, but I do want to thank you for your comments, for your email and the photo, which has been shared with the full council. Yes, feel free to pass that up. Thank you. We have Marianne Yoshikawa, then Scott Rees, and then we'll have Patrick Todd, and 2 minutes.
All right. Good evening, Mayor Lopez and council members. My name's Marianne Yoshikawa. I'm at 330 Harrison Avenue. I just wanted to take this opportunity to say thank you for your service. You all volunteer your time and your energy as public servants, and a number of us here are also public servants. I'm in my 8th year serving on the Civic Improvement Commission. I enjoy fostering the civic and community engagement, and I'm fortunate enough to live on Harrison Avenue where we all look out for each other and we also look out for the greater community. I know you care about the residents of Campbell and the perspectives that we have. And as elected officials, it can be difficult to act as an instrument of your constituents and represent our views instead of your own personal views. So we are here today to remind you, share our experiences, our concerns, and answer any questions you may have. So thanks again for your time, your service, and I will cede the remainder of my time to any of my neighbors who may need it in the future. Thank you.
After Scott, we'll have Patrick Todd and then Matt Shepard.
Good evening. My name is Scott Reese, and I also live at 330 Harrison. I just want to go on record. We actually like the Home Depot. We shop there too. So that's not a thing that we don't like these guys. What the Planning Commission has put before you in theory should work. There's a problem with it though. There's no enforceability of when Home Depot does break the rules. And that's always been our issue. We want to work with them, but the way that this is currently written, if they break the rules, there's no way to penalize them and there's no way to revoke what's going on. And I think that's what Phil has put in front of you. Just within the last month, they've broken the rules numerous times. I'd like to see something amended to this. And I read in there that you guys are going to do weekly drive-bys. I don't think that's enough. I don't think there's a reporting portion of that. It doesn't say how long they're going to do these drive-bys for. It doesn't say if we're going to revisit this. And it doesn't say if there's going to be penalties if they do violate these rules. They will talk about, Home Depot may say, well, the new manager will enforce this. The problem with that is the new manager could leave and then we have another manager that doesn't know the rules. And really the way that this is written, the city is making the residents police this and enforce this, which now is going to create an adverse effect between Home Depot and the neighbors. We don't want that. We don't want to be negative people towards Home Depot. We want to live in a symbiotic relationship with them. But the way it's written, it forces us to police this and it forces us to tell on them. And it's not the right thing to do. I think the right thing to do is put some parameters on this, that if they are in violation of it, there's either monetary penalties or it gets revoked. That's all I need to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Patrick Todd, and then Matt Shepard.
Good evening. I live at 362 Harrison Avenue. I've been at that residence for 25 years. And as you can see, we have our passionate group. And this issue has been going on since I've lived there for 25 years. So even though new conditions have been reviewed and are going to be approved, that doesn't mean that we're not going to be continually revisiting this. And like it's been said, the accountability part is a big issue with this. We all agree, everybody agrees, down the road, people forget, and it goes back to what they've been doing for the last 25 years. So the effort that we have to put forth to monitor this is significant. It's either we have to monitor it, we have to call the police, we have to do this, because nobody else will be managing this. So that is our biggest issue with any of this is what's the accountability and who's going to manage all this, make sure that this does happen, because this has been going on for 25 years. We spoke at length at the planning commission meeting, and now we're at the kind of the last step at city council. It's unfortunate we only have 2 minutes to speak because there's a lot of history, a lot of information that can be discussed about this. But essentially is, how is the city going to enforce that and make sure that the residents, the neighbors that live on that street aren't the ones that have to do that constantly? So I think everything else is in writing there, pictures, information's been shared. And to make a point was after planning commission, everything went through, it was approved. The following day, the things that were said the following day weren't changed. So it's just a history that keeps on going. So I'm not sure what the answer is. That's something that the city council needs to be aware of. I'm not sure how they're going to handle it, but it's the plan.
Thank you. Matt Shepard.
Good evening, council, and another shout out to Nishant, who's done a tremendous amount of work over the more than a year that we've been preparing for tonight. So I think just to sum it up, the current proposal is here to try to clean up the rules in a way that will be understandable and enforceable for Home Depot. Why? It's because over the years, the current regulations have been forgotten or confusing or modified so many times, sloppy record keeping, we lost track of what's actually permitted. So now we don't enforce it at all. There's been, as was noted, one citation in for more than 2 years when they've obviously violated existing, even before this proposal, the existing regulations have been violated on a daily basis. We call the police because we're told that code enforcement is really hard after hours, but we live there after hours, and that's not really what we're looking for. So while this new proposal is very reasonable, and if it is adhered to, it would satisfy our requirements, like Scott said, and we've said many times to Planning Commission, it's the enforcement and the teeth. And the final thing, the West Alley, all of the transport back and forth to bring freight from the red zone right by their rear around to the front, that's a major problem. And when I go and review it, I see this loading zone with the yellow stripes, but I work there and I don't know where that loading zone came from. I was there when the store opened. That was not a loading zone. And I would wonder, what does OSHA have to say about that? Inside the store, if you're moving a forklift with any freight, there's people with flags, there's tape to prevent any civilians from being in the way. Out in the front roll-up door, they're driving out into the parking lot. They're lifting up cement pallets, which that'll kill you. Right there, right when people are exiting and entering the store. So my time is up. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And do we have members of the public online wishing to speak? Okay. We will now invite the applicant and the representatives if they'd like to provide closing comments for up to 3 minutes.
Thank you. So just a couple of things that I wanted to bring up. One of the things which is in Nishant's report is that Home Depot and the city did come to a compliance agreement, which is why additional violations and fines were not accrued during this time. So because we were moving forward with this application and moving forward with amending everything, that is why additional fines were not paid at this time or any additional violations. Something that the store gets after this application is either approved or denied, we do give the store what is called an ORSP. That is something that Home Depot has adopted. It is called a operational restriction site plan. So basically the store manager will have this site plan, it'll be color coded, and it shows all the areas that they are allowed to utilize on their site and what they are for. That is posted in the break room, it's posted in the manager's office so that everybody has an idea of what is allowed and what is not allowed. So basically we take the conditions of approval, we take the site plan and we color code it and make it super easy for them to understand what is permitted for their store. With the loading of trucks, Gloria and I, the store manager, we walked to the site today. We talked about the loading of the trucks towards the front area, and we did come to a solution of moving it towards the garden center side. So she is going to work with her team to get that corrected. There will not be loading on that front corner anymore, and we are going to redirect everybody to the garden center side. So that is being corrected. In regards to enforceability, so there are penalties listed throughout the conditions of approval. So code enforcement is going to be walking our site every week. It says up to 6 months and then a year to review. At those time periods, I'm assuming the city will discuss with us how to move forward, if we will keep being on that 6-month basis, or if maybe we can go to a yearly basis after that. But that is listed in the conditions of approval. When new management is sent to this store, they have to go through a training protocol. Our company also has to alert the city that there is new management so that they can go through the training with them. So that is something that Home Depot is holding themselves accountable for. And there is compliance follow-up throughout here. We have to, within 30 days, we have to submit everything that is done at the store. We have to submit pictures to the city. And then within 60 days, we have to make sure that all permits are obtained and that we have to do a site walk with them to make sure that we are in compliance. So there is accountability in there. There are restrictions in there, and there are ways to check that Home Depot is following what they need to, listed in these conditions of approval.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If that's all, I will close the public hearing and we'll now go to council, and I'll start with seeing if there are questions from council. Councilmember Hines, do you have a question?
No, just a comment.
I'd like to ask a couple questions and then we'll do comments. If we could ask our staff to respond, whether that's Rob or Nishant. Could you speak, I know we heard from the applicant, could you speak to the enforcement piece on the city side, what that will look like practically? And what, and part two related to that, what does it look like if there's notice of violation, either formally through that process, or we're hearing complaints from people in the city?
Sure, happy to. Rob Eastwood, Community Development Director, I'll start, and Sean has much more detail. So I would just say the conditions you have before you are probably the most aggressive that have ever been placed on Home Depot. The city is trying a new tool, and this was proposed after the Planning Commission meeting and hearing from the neighbors, and this is proactive monitoring reporting. Typically, code enforcement is reactive, and if the action is happening at night or during the day, you have to call our staff or police, and it requires our staff to go out and investigate, and there's often a delay. What we like to do is be proactive and having staff out there not having to respond to complaints and actually doing spot checks on their own to make sure Home Depot is compliant. So that is a new tool. Home Depot will be providing a deposit of money to pay for that service for the next 6 months. I'd say stay tuned. If the need after 6 months as determined by the Planning Commission, it should continue, we could continue it. If things are in order, then it won't continue. That is definitely a new tool. Typically on enforcement, there's two routes. The city can enforce code enforcement actions, which starts with warnings and ends in fines. We are limited up to $1,000 per day. That can get folks' attention, but that is one tool. Another tool we have is, as listed in the conditions and described by Nishant, if there are verified violations, the director, myself, can modify the hours of operation. That's directly punitive and responds immediately to the issue. We also can schedule a revocation modification hearing before the Planning Commission as soon as possible to review the conditions and address the issue. Again, I think reviewing the conditions over the years with our staff planner and staff here, I'd admit my observation, there's been a lot of confusion given the multiple histories. What you have before you is a very clear document that outlines where they can store things, where they can do activity, with a very clear enforcement actions. In staff's opinion, it's a very aggressive approach to monitoring and having potentially punitive actions towards Home Depot on ongoing complaints.
Thank you very much for the answers. I don't have further questions. I have a couple of comments, but I'll go to other councilmember comments and start with Councilmember Hine.
Yeah, I just want to really acknowledge the residents and the concern over the noise and the issues associated with it. As I said, I did walk it yesterday and look down, I think the side that you're most concerned about, and it was spotless. With, I know signs are up there to try and alleviate, but it could easily change. I understand that. But I also feel that Home Depot is a large contributor from a revenue standpoint for Campbell, and feel that it's important to continue to work with the applicant, the Home Depot for that, but making sure that we respond in it it was very clear to me just looking down that line, whether there'd be anything there. It was spotless. But it'd be on the code enforcement aspect, I'd encourage the code enforcement to just take a peek down there. It was very obvious whether there was anything there or not.
Thank you very much. Do we have other comments? Go ahead, Councilor Scozzolo.
I just want to thank not only the residents for, bringing these issues up. This is exactly what we're supposed to do. So thank you guys for going to planning and now here. I also want to thank the Home Depot themselves. It seems like they're being incredibly cooperative and they do want to make our residents happy. So what I've seen tonight and the document I looked over, to me, it feels like a very reasonable point we've come to at this point. And so I think that's about all the comments I have.
Thank you. Yeah, go ahead, Vice Mayor.
Thank you. I have some comments to make as well. First of all, I do appreciate the public comments and the concerns of the residents. I think it's important to point out that, of course, this particular action only becomes effective when the council passes it. So you cannot hold Home Depot to the actions in this prior to this happening. Now, I cannot speak to, over the past years and all those kind of things that have happened. I just cannot speak to those. But I will say that Home Depot has been permitted as a business in the city and has provided a number of valuable services to our residents for many years. It's very convenient. We have many residents that go there. The employees of Home Depot are very friendly. They're eager to help you. The store employs a number of people and provides jobs. They provide special discounts to veterans. They acknowledge the service of veterans to the United States, and they support veterans programs, all of which I appreciate. So we're at this point now where over a period of time, working with the management of Home Depot and the concerns of the residents, the matter has been more detailed in its codification, and it spells out things in very plain language. So I think it can represent a good document. You have to realize, of course, that Home Depot is a very large organization. It's not a small business where they have absolute control over all of their employees and what happens. A lot of the public come there. And so you have to give them time to work with their various vendors. People will come in and park and load. It's going to take them a while to work with their vendors and say, hey, we're doing this over this way now. When you come in, you have to shut your motor off. So you have to give such a large business, and with all of the vendors they deal with and all the public they deal with, a little bit of time to work with them and give them a chance to implement this particular agreement. I do want to focus specifically on some of the items in the conditions of approval. And I wanted to just go through this with my colleagues here in the City Council. Under the conditions of approval, this is Exhibit A, pages 1 through 10. Item number 6, mandatory review. In the lower third of the narrative there, this is on page 2 of 10. I wanted to notice that it says the Planning Commission may recommend to the City Council that the modified plan development permit be revoked or modified pursuant to the condition of approval number 31. It does say that should the Planning Commission recommend this to the council shall schedule a public hearing. I would think that would be up to the council to decide whether a public hearing was appropriate or not. So the word in my mind should not be shall, it should be may be scheduled. I also want to focus on, this would be page 8 of 10. This is item number 24. The provision of video records. It starts out in the narrative, it says, in the event that a noise complaint is received by the city. I'm sure there's going to be at least one noise violation. I don't think that we can, respond to every, when there's just a single noise violation. If it becomes, 2 or 3 noise violations and it's not being corrected, definitely then I think we need to look into it. But we cannot become an agency that it's always kind of clamping down. Oh, we heard a noise. Oh, this happened. Oh, this guy didn't turn off his motor. You have to give them time to work with their vendors and allow this to happen. So that's why I'm concerned about that specific verbiage. Item number 26, it does refer to the West Valley Clean Water Authority. That particular agency now is a Joint Powers Authority. I do serve on that board. It's changed its name. It's the West Valley Stormwater Authority. I'm sorry, it's the West Valley Stormwater Authority, yes. So that should, the wording there should be corrected. On the following page under number 31, the modification or revocation of the permit, it does say there that the Community Development Director may commence proceedings for revocation of the modification of the approval upon the occurrence of one complaint. Well, again, I'm sure there's going to be probably at least one complaint, and I just cannot understand that, you know, the public, the Community Development Director would, you know, commence proceedings immediately to revoke that. So I think that language there is just a little too strong. I mean, it's, we can expect the Community Development Director to use their discretion here in terms of whether this is recurring or an unusual kind of complaint. And then finally, contrary, I'm sorry, I disagree with one other element here with code enforcement about weekly inspections. You know, as I said, you have to give them a little bit of time to work with their vendors. And I think weekly inspections, mandatory, can be somewhat onerous. Certainly, code enforcement can come out at any given time and do spot inspections. But to specify in this particular regulation that it must be weekly inspections, you have to give them a chance to work with their vendors. You know, they're going to have contractors, I assume, kind of build the fence or, you know, create the storage facilities. It's going to take them a little while to get that scheduled and so on. And there may not be progress in a week. So I would think that at least, you know, every 3 weeks or so, sort of a scheduled code enforcement with additional, and the code officer has the option to make any kind of spot visits anytime he or she wants to. So, you know, I think these are things that we have to consider in terms of the practicality and the size of the business and what they do, and their promise to us tonight and to all of you that they do plan to implement all of these changes. So those are my comments.
Thank you. I have some comments, but first, does staff want to respond to some of the concerns that were raised?
I will start. That was a lot, council member Furtado, so please let me know if I missed some. So on some of these, I think these are purely cleanup items. Changing shall to may, I think was the first, no staff comment on that. On the complaints, so there's an option of that condition has been used before, I think notably with a lot of past nightclubs or bars downtown, has been effective. A way of softening that, which is a bit more objective, would be to say a noise complaint that results in a violation verified by staff. So it is one thing to get a complaint. Folks technically can complain about everything. If staff either investigates proactively, investigates, documents it's a violation, that's something different. So would advise the council if they like to have that a bit more objective, to say the results in a documented violation would present more of an objective bar. Clarification on the name of the Stormwater Authority, I think we'll just pick up in the language. Same issue on the revocation, complaints resulting in a verified violation. I could put that language in instead if that's what the council would like. Finally, it's the council's discretion on code enforcement. Staff would advise to have the weekly inspections. Again, the intent here was not to be reactive to complaints, to have our folks out there to visit the site to make sure they're in compliance, where it's the council's discretion if you want to modify that condition.
Is that indefinite weekly? Or
That is for the first 6 months, and after that, there is a report to the Planning Commission. The results of which the Planning Commission council can continue or discontinue, but it was intended for that first reporting period for staff to be proactive in monitoring this.
Do you have other questions? Oops, sorry.
Well, my only concern is if it starts to be documented on a weekly basis, like I said, it may take them a couple of weeks to work with their subcontractors or vendors to get something done. But the report will say, nothing happened this week, nothing happened this week. So it sounds like, it looks like they're not complying, when in fact they may be trying to comply. It's just that, you know, they're working with numerous people. And so consequently, it just may take a little time for that to happen. I'm not looking for excuses or dragging feet or anything along those lines. I'm just looking for, you know, a reasonable explanation as you're reporting these things.
Got it. Senior Planner Daniel Fama corrected that the conditions and with the approval do not start until 6 weeks after this approval. Or that monitoring requirement will start 6 weeks after this approval. So it does allow for a ramp up period.
Thank you. And I'll go to my comments. I want to start by thanking the neighbors, and I empathize that you've had this situation go on for years. I appreciate your time in bringing this to the attention of the city during that time and throughout this process, Planning Commission, coming to council. And I really commend staff, Nishant, for your work, as hearing from the comments how much that's appreciated by the community. Senior Planner Daniel Fama and Rob Eastwood, thank you for your leadership in bringing this forward, cleaning up something that was, you know, sounds like it was a messy situation because of years of issues that had built up. I appreciate that we'll be on a much more clear path going forward. And I would say to Home Depot, I think you're hearing tonight the eagerness to work with you and make this happen. And I appreciate the collaboration. It sounds like it's happened with staff to this point, and I just encourage that to continue. I'll share that I'm in favor of what's presented here. I'm open to cleaning up things. Like I think some of the language, some of the ideas that were just suggested to make things a little bit more clear. But I do want to stick to the staff recommendation of weekly inspections. And I will say the community, I think that's a very, to do that proactively every week is very aggressive for the city with our limited resources. It's not something that I've heard of done before. And I want to appreciate, again, the creativity from staff in doing this new idea that came up since the Planning Commission, listening to the Planning Commission discussion and trying to improve on that and address issues proactively. As folks have said, it's going to depend, it might be a great document, it's going to depend on enforcement. But I'm confident that we'll have the tools, especially with the 6-month review period. If we have complaints, whether through the proactive process or other complaints that we hear from the community, that will be a chance for Planning Commission, then possibly the council, to address issues that come up. So maybe with some minor modifications to language with staff, if that would help clarify. I support what's put here moving forward with the 1-week proactive inspections. Do you have any other comments from colleagues? And if not, is there a motion?
I propose the motion to accept the staff recommendations with the additional comments from Councilmember Furtado as far as the additions and corrections in the language. That's my motion.
And clarifying that we're keeping the weekly
that's
inspection. What's in there. So I will second that motion. Any comments or questions?
I do. I'm not entirely clear on exactly what language we are changing from that motion. If it were to reference the language proposed by the Community Development Director, I think it would be clear, or if Councilmember Furtado has specific language to propose. But as it stands, I'm not sure that staff has direction as to exactly what changes are supposed to be made to the conditions.
Councilmember Hines, as the maker of the motion, do you have an opinion on that?
I would agree that we need to clarify it.
And you can reference the comments made by the.
Yeah. May I reference the comments made by the community director as to the modifications for the ordinance?
And I agree with that as the seconder of the motion. Councilmember Scazola, do you have a comment?
No, it's okay. I just was, if you guys need help with the clarification, that's all.
If I can, after a second motion, can we have Director Eastwood come up and just maybe reiterate what sections of those conditions and the wording on the modification, so we're just really clear, if that's okay with the council?
Sean, taking the most copious notes here.
Yeah, so the clarifications are to update condition 6 to say may schedule instead of shall schedule. Update 24C to say that the noise complaint needs to be a verified violation. Update condition 26 to just change the name to West Valley Stormwater Authority. And update condition 31 to clarify that the complaints need to be verified violations.
Councilmember Hines, is that acceptable?
Yes, that's acceptable.
Okay. And because we've closed the public hearing, we're not ordinarily able to take further comments. I do see a hand raised. I'm sorry, I have to recognize members of the public, but is that something that we're able to do?
At this point, not with the public hearing closed.
Okay. I'm sorry. And I think the image that will be part of the meeting minutes and will be included in the record.
Reference this.
It'll be
in the
referenced.
minutes And then include it with the agenda packet.
Okay, thank you. And with that, we have a motion on the floor and we'll have a vote.
You'll have to reference that diagram. It is not submitted by the staff.
Yes, we'll recognize that it was submitted by a member of the public.
Just want to be clear that I think there was a request that the council adopt that. We're not adopting that document. We are including it in the record, just to be clear.
I asked for it to be adopted, so if the council doesn't want to adopt it, that's fine, no record. Nishan's seen it, Cassandra's seen it, it should be matter of the public record.
Thank you. We've received an LB in the record.
It will be in the record.
Thank you. We have the motion, please.
Councilmember Hines,
Aye.
Councilmember Scazola,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Furtado,
Aye.
and Mayor Lopez.
Aye. And thank you to all the members of the public who came and spoke and staff for your work. Thank you.
1 second.
Oh, we have
We have an ordinance.
read the title of the ordinance, please.
Yes. So this is the title from the desk item, being an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Campbell approving an applicant-initiated major modification to a previously approved planned development permit PD 91-01, modifying the operational characteristics of an existing hardware store with a garden center on property located at 480 East Hamilton Avenue. File number PLN 2023-52.
Thank you. Do we have a motion to waive further reading?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Can we have the roll, please?
Councilmember Hines.
Aye.
Councilmember Scazola.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Furtado.
Aye.
Mayor Lopez.
Aye. Thank you so much. And again, thank you to everyone who spoke on this item and worked on this. That takes us to item 12, which is new business and approving and awarding the contract to Studio G Architects in the amount of $254,036, along with a proposed budget amount and 10% contingency. And this will be presented by Natasha Bissell, Recreation Community Services Director.
Good evening, Mayor and members of council. So tonight we have before you a contract to award to Studio G Architects for the design and schematic drawings and construction docs for the relocation of our adult center in the E-wing at the Campbell Community Center. So an RFP was issued and we had 6 responsive or qualified firms respond to our RFP. They were rated by staff. The top 3 candidates were asked to come in for an interview. And from that point, we made a selection to move forward with Studio G. So tonight before you, you have the contract to be awarded. The project is approved in the budget for $250,000. So there is for $200,000. And so there's a budget adjustment to make that adjustment along with some contingencies, just in case. And this is solely for design at this time. And that concludes my presentation. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Do you have questions? Yes, Vice Mayor Furtado.
I wonder if you might just describe very briefly what area exactly you're talking about, what you kind of envision, what is incorporated in this?
So at the Campbell Community Center, there are the different wings. The E wing faces the Winchester parking lot. So it's a enter from the south end. So you come in from the parking lot and you kind of loop around. The intent is to create a front facing entrance. So when our adult population comes to the community center, we can direct them to the Winchester parking lot, and that they have a direct line of sight and direct path of travel from the parking lot. We also have adult center parking permit and our an abundance of ADA parking right there to allow people to safely come to the community center with a short distance of travel.
Okay, I'm sorry, at first I thought you were proposing also some element of kind of where your office is and in the area right behind it, but you're not referring to that building at all.
No, so our current office is in building C, 2 hallways down, and the adult center is in kind of the back corner of the C building. So kind of one of the farthest points from the parking lots, both parking lots. So we're trying to change that. So we would be taking the staff and the meeting space from there and relocating it to the E wing. We have 3 internal rooms that were kind of are vacant at the moment, and kind of using those for those spaces and doing our best to preserve 42 and 46, which are existing rental spaces, but having internal access as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. Very good question, clarification. Anyone else?
Is, just a quick question, has Studio G done work with us before?
I do not know that answer.
Okay, all right, actually, that's a good answer. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Is there anyone in the public that would like to speak on this item? No? Move to council discussion. Are there any council comments on this? If not, do we have a motion?
I'll move to adopt the item 12 as presented for the contract for Studio G Architects.
Second.
Motion is second. Can we have the roll?
Councilmember Hines.
Aye.
Councilmember Scazola.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Furtado.
Aye.
Mayor Lopez.
Aye. That item passes. Thank you. And now we have item 13, which is the 2024 General Plan and Housing Element Annual Progress Reports.
Sorry. That's not Natasha.
I guess that, yeah. And do we have a presenter for this item?
Larissa.
Yeah.
Thank you and good evening. So every year, the city must submit an annual progress report or an APR, which details its progress in meeting its regional housing needs allocation or RHNA and the implementation of its general plan. Following the adoption of the 2040 general plan 2 years ago, the city intends to build on this comprehensive planning effort and keep track of how well it's putting this general plan into action. For this reason, the report is divided into 2 parts. The first will focus on the city's efforts to meet its RHNA, and the second will examine how well the city is executing its recently adopted general plan. To summarize last year in a single slide, this is the 2024 year, the city entitled 314 new housing units, issued building permits for 90 new units, and finalized 64 new units. Of the 90 issued building permits, as you'll see, which do count towards satisfying the city's RHNA, the affordability ranges are as follows. 21 units were allocated for very low income, 21 were low income, 21 were moderate, and 27 were above moderate. The city is in the RHNA Cycle 6, which will carry for 8 years, ending in 2031. As you can see from this slide, the city was allocated 2,977 housing units across 4 distinct income levels. As the city concludes its second year in this 8-year cycle, it was expected that at least 2/8 or 1/4 of the housing units would be completed. However, looking at this highlighted column, the city is falling behind the RHNA allocation. The city will be credited for the entire cycle, which does provide the city with an opportunity to address the deficit in the upcoming years. To address this, the city has entitled 4 major housing projects during the 2024 year, which are not currently reflected in this table. These include the redevelopment of the Campbell Technology Park, 2 housing projects on Virginia and Llewellyn, and the VTA housing project, which is located at the Winchester Station. The city is also completing work on 2 additional major housing projects that should be concluded in 2025. And this includes the Charities Housing Project located at 60 West Hamilton and the Cressley Mixed Use Development Project. However, as noted on this slide, the city is currently experiencing a shortfall in housing production. As of 2024, the city has produced 160 units, which represents roughly 5% of its total RENA target for the 8-year cycle. If this trend were to continue through the end of the 8-year reporting period, the city will have delivered a total of 687 units, falling short of the RENA requirement by about 2,290 units. In addition to reporting on the progress of new housing developments, the APR also serves to capture the city's progress towards implementing some of its housing programs and policies that are included in its housing element. Some of these accomplishments are included on this slide, and they include the Inclusionary Housing Ordinance Amendment, the adoption of an affordable housing nexus study and commercial linkage fee, the establishment of 3 new housing overlay districts, and the hiring of an unhoused specialist using a $450,000 grant from Destination Home. And finally, a partnership with the Santa Clara County to fund homelessness prevention services and engagement with Good City to conduct a West Valley shelter feasibility study. As the second year of implementing the 2040 general plan, the report also includes an update on the city's progress towards completing various actions as outlined in that plan. Each action was reviewed, given a timeline for implementation and status. And as you will note from the report, many of the actions are still marked as in progress or have not yet been started. This is due to the recent adoption of the general plan. And as the city works to implement these actions through various efforts across departments citywide, more and more will be implemented and checked off. And in conclusion, staff recommends that the City Council adopt a resolution directing staff to send the APR to the required state agencies. And this concludes staff's presentation, and I can take questions at this time.
Thanks so much. Do you have any questions from the council?
Just, you mentioned the Cressley Homes. What's the address that you're talking about for Cressley Homes? Yeah, okay, thank you. I thought so. Thank you.
Any other questions? Do we have any members of the public who'd like to speak on this item? Director Eastwood, did you want to add?
I know staff presentation. I did want to add, as noted in the graph, it was intentional to show the council both where we're at today and going forward. So we've done deep investments into our housing program and set the stage for a lot of housing production. We put a lot of our eggs in the high density housing basket. Market conditions, mostly out of our hands at this point, are stymieing the ability of the housing market to respond to that. So what I wanted to point out is if we continue on the trend we are in the market we're at, we will not hit our RENA goals. That was clearly apparent. As a learning organization, I thought we would take this moment at least 2 years in to reflect and see is there something we can do. So we have started some discussions with affordable housing developers, and I intend to in the next couple of weeks with market rate developers and just other experts to see, are there things we can start doing given these current market conditions to change policies that would allow us to get closer to those RENA goals. And it's our intent to come back to council probably in the April-May timeframe and just present those to you. So the intent is 2 years in, reflect, see where the market's at, and see if we need to make adjustments. Want to acknowledge that.
Thank you. Do we have comments from council?
Yeah, just so what's the impact if we don't meet the RENA numbers in 8 years?
It's largely what it is now. The one trigger has to do, and I'll look a bit at our city attorney, with SB 35 and the ability of housing projects to go through a ministerial process versus a discretionary process. The city has less discretion over certain housing projects. Beyond that, there's nothing concrete. Technically, all cities are subject to HCD audit and compliance if we weren't proactively taking actions, measures, programs to stimulate housing, and there have been cities. They can conduct audits and exact penalties. There is a code enforcement unit at the state. I haven't seen HCD proactively go after a city that's not meeting its RENA goals when I think it's documented a lot of the conditions are outside of the control of the city, but those are the potential modifications.
Thank you. I'll just have other comments for discussion.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Furtado, do you have a comment?
I do. First of all, thank you for the report. I don't think you or any of the staff should feel badly about where we are. I've said this many times, but it bears repeating. We do not own the property. We cannot force an owner to sell. We cannot force a developer to build. Fortunately, you did entitle a number of potential units, but then they weren't built, and it has nothing to do with anything you did or didn't do. The fact it was the market conditions, as was pointed out, and the interest rates and a variety of things which caused the developers to sort of hold back a little bit and wait. And so I think the best we can do, we have implemented all kinds of incentives and rules and regulations to increase housing. So it's not for lack of us, dragging our feet or pretending like it's no big deal. We have worked very hard. And so I think it's important during this 8-year process to kind of document our efforts as you go along so that in the future, you or a successor or someone else, when they have to give a report or if the state has an accounting, we have sort of a clear sort of a diary of what we have done and what we've attempted to do. Because I think all cities are kind of in the same boat. It's so easy for the state and for RENA to create all these numbers, which are so unrealistic. And I guess we're not going to get anywhere by complaining that the numbers are unrealistic, but simply to document the facts of where they are and what we've done. And so I just wanted to commend you for all the efforts that the whole department has made and it continues to make. And I know we'll continue to work hard, but it's not like we have total control of the situations.
Thank you. Do you have other comments? Go ahead, Councilmember Scazola.
Super quick, and let's just hope for some points going down, 1 or 2 points, and then I'm sure the momentum will be there at that point. We're all waiting for the same thing. And that's kind of the mindset that I have is when I see these numbers and they do look really low at this 2-year point, but it's all about momentum. We just began pushing and it'll start rolling, and I have every confidence in that.
Thank you. And I also commend staff for the work that's been done. I appreciate the comment about us being a learning organization and taking lessons learned. I think 2 years is a good point to start to take stock of that. And the next time we come back, I think we'll want to see where the market is and other external factors that may or may not be within our control. But I'm also I am heartened by what's in the pipeline beyond just the 90 the 90 that were entitled. I think there's really good news in the mix, the proportions across the affordability spectrum is really hopeful. And I think if we can keep up anywhere close to that, I think we'll be in a really good place overall. So thank you for your work. Any last comments on this item? If not, then I'll entertain a motion in a second.
Well, I thought we were going to move to discussion. So
This was the discussion. We took comments earlier.
All right, I'm sorry.
No
Let me add my comments on the discussion. First of all, staff, excellent work on this. And as far as adopting this, I totally agree. Let's move forward with adopting it. But I come from the standpoint of let me talk about it on a quota that we have. When you start off below quota, it's very difficult to catch up because you have to not just have the engine going at the speed, you have to accelerate the engine. And I'm just talking about being able to get this. And I'm concerned about that because it's not going to be in a position for us to catch up. And I think it's going to exhaust us to do it. So I think there needs to be some other perspective. I continue to hear, market rates, it doesn't pencil out, but I look across the street in Bascom and right across the street, there's, 5, 10-story high rises going up. Los Gatos is just, I know they had a big orchard that they're utilizing, but it's just extensive amount of work. I think that we have to really take a serious look at why aren't they penciling out? Why is Crestley Homes still waiting to move forward with that? And yes, we can't make them develop, but we have to find out why is it working in San Jose, and why is it working in Los Gatos? And we need to, we're not going to catch. It's very difficult to catch up when you've got a quota that you're trying to achieve on this, and it's not an engine that's going to accelerate. You're doing a terrific job, absolutely. I'm just seeing the impact that we're going to have if we don't get there. That was my question. What if we don't meet it? I see that we're not going to meet it just because of that being able to accelerate on the quota. So that's fine. But absolutely, I'll accept the motion, and with that, I'll propose a motion to accept item 13, the General Plan Housing Annual Progress Report submission as presented by staff.
Thank you. Second by Vice Mayor Furtado. We have the roll, please.
Councilmember Hines.
Aye.
Councilmember Scazola.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Furtado.
Aye.
Mayor Lopez.
Aye. That passes. Thank you, staff, and thank you everyone for the excellent comments. That takes us to item 14, which is a review of the Campbell Statement of Values, and this will be presented by Andrea Sanders, City Clerk.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. The Statement of Values was originally adopted in 2006. It was a way to express the standards for integrity and ethical conduct expected for elected officials, appointed board and commissioners, executive staff, and candidates for local office. The Statement of Values is a living document. It is reviewed biannually in odd-numbered years following a council election. It is to promote and foster the highest degree of public trust. The adopted Statement of Values reflects the core beliefs of the community. These 6 core values are the standards by which city officials should perform their duties on behalf of the citizens they represent and serve. These values are community, honesty, civility, equity, teamwork, and accountability. The Statement of Values was last amended and reaffirmed in 2023. At that time, there was language added to the community value to reflect the city council governing the city residents as a whole, despite being elected by districts. So tonight we ask that the council either reaffirm the current Statement of Values or discuss and provide feedback on any changes that may be desired.
Thank you.
Concludes my report.
Thank you. First questions from council, if any. Do you have any questions?
I have one.
Yes, Vice Mayor.
Andrea, when someone is appointed to one of the commissions, I assume that this statement is given to them because they need to print and sign it.
Correct. We provide that to them during their orientation.
Right. And although we're not considering it, does that also include the mission statement of the city?
We don't currently provide commissioners our mission statement, just the Statement of Values.
Okay. Frankly, I do think we probably should include both. And I think they should be, in other words, they cannot take office unless they sign that they've received these. And then that officially puts it on the record that they have the values, so that should there be a violation of it, we have documentation that they signed and accepted the value when they took their oath of office. I don't know if we have to take action along that line, but I just think that's important.
Thank you.
That's certainly something that we can do moving forward, is include that with their orientation material.
Okay. Do you have other questions? Okay. Any members of the public that would like to speak on this item? No. Close public comment, and let's start with Councilmember Scazola, then Councilmember Hines.
Yeah, I just have one brief comment, and this might have to be just a complete separate document, but I've been asking for a couple of years. I'm hoping that we can establish some kind of, for lack of a better word, some kind of policy when it comes to lobbying, just so that we're held accountable. But I don't think this is the document necessarily for it. I'm not sure if we can incorporate any kind of language that just talks about how, you know, more transparency essentially within this. But otherwise, if not, I would definitely still want to encourage that we have some kind of actual policy in the future when it comes to lobbying.
Thank you. Councilmember Hunt.
Thank you. Just a comment that I'm been very impressed with the city council and all of the commission people and staff that I've met that all adhere to these values. So I just want to make a comment that it's evidence in what we're presenting.
And you took the words out of my mouth. As I sit here and look down at the different bullet points, I feel pretty good about where we are as a city, and especially in light of the discussions we had as part of the retreat recently. I think we're in a good place. Also, just appreciate this coming back to council and making this a regular practice, giving me a chance to weigh in. There may not be changes made to the text necessarily, but we realized some time back that the expectation was like come back regularly, and it hadn't been for a while. So I appreciate our city clerk for making that a regular practice. If there aren't any other comments, I'll entertain. This requires a motion, right, to practically adopt. I'll entertain a motion.
I'll entertain a motion to accept and adopt the statement of values as presented by city clerk.
Do you have a second?
Second.
Great. Motion and second, and appreciate the comments from everyone. Can we have the roll, clerk?
Councilmember Hines.
Aye.
Councilmember Scazola.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Furtado.
Aye.
Mayor Lopez.
Aye. That passes. Thank you again, everyone. We have no unfinished business, and so that takes us to council committee reports. And I'll start on this side and then go across that side. Councilmember Hines, do you have any reports?
Yeah, I just want to report on the Finance Committee. Will and Narit gave excellent, and the team gave an excellent review of the finances for the ACFR, and the audit will be reviewing that as a, that's for the 2020 fiscal year 2023 to 2024. We'll be reviewing that at the next council meeting, but it was the Finance Committee. It was excellent for that. Had a great review with the Public Works and met the whole team with Todd, who it was a chance to get Todd's perspective, working with Amy and Ron as well. Great ideas, and allowed me to catch Todd before he retired. For Campbell Village residents, we've got a neighborhood meeting coming up on March 13th. Somehow Mary agreed to host it at our house, so we'd love to be able to have people join us there. Shout out to Campbell Chamber, Celebrate Campbell, March 15th, coming up March 15th. So please join us there. And then finally, my shout out is the West Valley Sanitation. This morning, they came and did an 8-year routine cycle with a camera system. And for our sewer work, it's right in front of our house. They actually found an issue that's going to be addressed. So it was really a great conversation that I had with them, and the gentleman that I chatted with encouraged owners to call West Valley Sanitation if they have any issues before they try a DIY. So, thank you. That's all.
Great. Thank you. Councilmember Scazola, do you have any reports?
Yeah, just the one attended the Friends of the Heritage Theater. The new soundboard has been installed as of a couple months back. So it's fantastic. Everyone loves it. The previous soundboard was ancient by comparison. In fact, so much so that modern acts would have to have a soundboard rented there just so they can actually do their performance with the proper sound standards. So it's great that we have that there. Saves a lot of money, no more rentals, and it's as good as it can get basically for the facility. So super great that that's there and working wonderfully. Also, there is just the beginning, but they're putting out feelers right now, reaching out to the city and school district, see if they can coordinate to allow for possibly hosting school events at the theater. So that's a possible new exciting thing. So that's all I got for now.
Thank you, Vice Mayor Furtado.
Yes, I'll just make a brief comment about the West Valley Stormwater Authority. I guess maybe I mentioned before, that is the new name of the organization. It used to be called the West Valley Clean Water Program Authority. A little bit wordy, and there was a lot of confusion about clean water because it sounded like somehow the agency provided clean water to everyone or something, which of course, it basically deals with materials and water that goes from our storm drains into the creeks. And as we all know, that water is untreated and it just flows right into the creeks and out in the ocean. So there have been several efforts, and there are legal guidelines now that require all of us to try to cut down as much as possible on pollutants. There are specific requirements around building sites and things like that to have the storm drains have these special catchment areas and preventive processes in place to prevent pollutants and debris from getting into the stormwater system. And as a matter of fact, our authority, which is a JPA of the 4 cities, Campbell, Los Gatos, Saratoga, and Montecito, our executive director, Sheila Tucker, and the agency does rent space from us over at the community center. You probably know it's in the back by the courtyard. We are going to start a program, and Campbell is going to be the test city for it, a new program to really emphasize to the public exactly about clean creeks and how important it is to members of the public to prevent materials that shouldn't be there except for water getting into their storm drains, especially the ones near where they live, and to the extent of possible to prevent or make us aware of problems. So we're going to be, Sheila will be working with us and with our public relations team to start the program going, hopefully to improve our resident understanding of what things they can do to promote clean creeks. That's all I have to say.
Thank you so much. And first, I just want to appreciate the council allowing me for our last meeting to attend remotely, given some family health concerns, which thankfully were resolved with a positive outcome. So, thank you very much for that, for the support. I had a meeting of our monthly meeting, as I mentioned, of the West Valley mayors and managers, and I'll share that the wildfire continues to be the major concern for many of our neighbors in the West Valley, and I think our attitude is let's do what we can as a good neighbor and support as we do in so many other areas. I also had the pleasure of attending the Cupertino State of the City and hearing from Mayor Liang Chow with a number of other neighbors in our region as well. We held our first workshop for VTA, which is where new and current members get oriented and get given the tools to succeed as a director of the board with such a big complex agency, which in many other counties is actually multiple agencies, but here we have it under one roof, and heard very good feedback in terms of improving the tools we give to directors and therefore members of the public to understand the agency. Also had the audit committee for Silicon Valley Clean Energy and received a clean audit and accepted that, which if it hasn't, will go to the board of directors. And so some good news there. I also met just yesterday with a member of Josh Becker's staff in their office in Menlo Park and talked about what some of their priorities and bills are, and forwarded what I learned or will be to staff and to the legislative committee to follow up appropriately. And so they're looking forward to hopefully continue to engage with us, as well as I think hopefully with the West Valley Mayors and Managers Group as well as a follow-up from that discussion. And finally, today was World Literacy Day. I think it's actually World Literacy Week. And I had the pleasure today of reading to 3 different classes, grades 2 through 5, one combined class in there, at Moreland Elementary School. I'm sorry, at Country Lane Elementary School, part of the Moreland District. And was pleasantly surprised by how attentive those second through fifth graders were. It was very, very impressive. But that was a lot of fun. And I heard I just missed Saratoga Mayor Bilal Aftab, who was in just before me. But really fun to end on that note. And with that, that's all we have for today, and we are adjourned. Thank you everyone so much.